Hello, everyone. Good evening and good afternoon, depending on now which time zone are you sitting in. I'm seeing, looking at the attendees list, more people are collecting to the webinar now. So everyone, welcome to today's webinar on leveraging youth need community support agriculture for sustainable food system. I am Csa, currently working for a multi-development bank, and I will be your host today. So before we start, I just want to quickly remind you a few housing keeping rules. So firstly, I would like to remind all the attendees to please kindly mute yourself if you are not speaking. And as well, secondly, if you have any questions, later on we will have Q&A session. You may raise your hand or put your questions in the Q&A chatting box. We will start our webinar in 1 minute. I'm still taking up taking a few more seconds to waiting more attendees to collecting from China, Italy, and worldwide. So coming back to today's webinar, we have 3 keywords: community support agriculture, youth, and sustainable food system. And before we go to more in depth of the topic, the 3 topics, I would like to highlight today's webinar is actually organized by a group of volunteers that under the World Food Forum. So World Food Forum was initiated by a group of young professionals in late 2020. It's also a platform for harnessing the passion of youth and sparking global movement to transition into sustainable food system. Today's webinar is a joint effort by Innovation Masterclasses team. So now I would like to invite Victoria, co-lead of the Innovation Masterclass and the WFF, to give her a quick brief of innovation track and the WFF. Please allow me to introduce Victoria. Victoria is a facilitator to making every voice count for adaptive management initiative in collaboration with South and Triangular Cooperation Division at FAO. She holds a master's degree in international relations from St. John's University in Rome, and she had previously interned with IFAD and contributed to relaunching of the IFAD Youth Network and moderated fireside chats with IFAD leaders monthly event. And she's also an active representative of the International Plant Protection Convention Secretary at FAO's Youth Group for Plant Health. So please, Victoria, over to you.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Kathy, for the introduction. So as she mentioned, my name is Victoria, and I'll be introducing the World Food Forum to you. So led by youth for youth, the World Food Forum is a global platform where young people can share ideas and knowledge and inspire one another to make a difference and achieve a world without hunger. The goal of this network is to transform our food systems to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, but in particular, zero hunger. While the World Food Forum flagship event is set to launch October 1st through 6th, there will be dialogues and other events taking place throughout the year. These include the Youth Action Track, Innovation Labs, educational activities, culinary arts, film festivals, and music, with the purpose to drive awareness, foster engagement and advocacy, and mobilize resources in support of agri-food systems transformation through youth-led action. We will have a wide variety of masterclasses touching all areas of our agri-food systems, which will consist of hands-on competitions for students and young professionals, as well as inspirational and educational content from renowned experts and emerging young leaders on how to nurture innovation for a better food future. The masterclasses, in particular, are an online space for experts and youth leaders to share stories of actionable solutions on agri-food systems transformation. Each episode covers one theme on how to transform our food systems and consists of individual presentations and panel conversations with contributions, quotes, and stories from relevant experts on a wide range of topics, by pairing long-standing experts with up-and-coming young leaders. If you are interested in joining the World Food Forum, we'll be sharing some information in the chat during the event. Be sure to check it out. We are so pleased to have you with us here today to learn about community-supported agriculture and look forward to fighting zero hunger together. Over to you, Kathy.
Well, thank you, Victoria. I was looking at the chat. It's very exciting to see so many participants from China and Italy, as well as Pakistan. Again, a warm welcome to all attendees. So back to our topic today on CSA, Community Support Agriculture. I believe it's not a new terminology for many of us involving in agriculture sector. It's actually a model of food production and distribution that directly connects consumers and farmers. What exactly the model entails, we're now moving to our next session. We want to test your knowledge on CSA through a few questions, and following it, we will have a presentation on it. So now I'm glad to over to you, Doina.
Thank you very much, Kathy. So now we are going to have an interactive exercise and consisting in a set of polling questions. So yes, I would like to start with greeting all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. And let's start with the polling. So I think the first question is already on. Yes, so please feel free to reply to each questions by taking about 30 seconds, and feel free to choose between a single or multiple answers. We will discuss the answer one by one. So the first one, I'm going to read it. So how many people cannot afford a healthy diet and nutritious diet in 2020? The first one, 600 million. 800 million, 1.8 billion people, or 3 billion people. Please give your answers. We can wait another 10 seconds. Okay, so maybe we can start reading the first results. Great. So I see that many of you chose especially between 1.8 and 3 billion people. The correct answer is the last one. So according to the State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World report, also known as SOFI 2020, about 3 billion people cannot afford a healthy and sustainable diet. While another 690 million of people are hungry, corresponding to about 9% of the world's population. Yes, we can go maybe to the second question. Which is about food waste. So I will going to read it. How much food sold in 2019 landed in waste bins? First answer, 70 million tons, 300 million tons, 850 million tons, 930 million tons. I'm also giving you about 30 seconds. Let's wait a few more seconds. Okay, I see that everybody replied. And again, here, yes, the answers are pretty much proportionate, especially between the last two. And the correct answer is the last one. So according to the recently published Food Waste Index Report 2021, which reveals that between food wasted in houses, restaurants, and shops, 17% of all food is dumped. Some food is also lost in farms and in supply chains, indicating that overall a third of food is never eaten. This is enough to load about 23 million 40 tons trucks of food. So this is to give you the idea of how huge amount of food we waste. But let's now go to the third question. Thank you. And here you can you have the option of the multiple choice. What are the main challenges to the realization of sustainable food systems? Environmental deterioration and loss of biodiversity, economic instability, or social issues, including gender inequalities in food production, lack of equitable access to land and natural resources, lack of opportunities for young people, etc. I also give you about 20 to 30 seconds. Let's wait the last few seconds. Okay, so I see that answers are pretty much divided. The correct question is that all of these three options are actually challenging current food systems. So the challenges to the realization of sustainable food system include issues regarding the three pillars of sustainability, which are ecology, economy, and society. Therefore, sustainable food systems are based on sustainable food production and processing methods that take into account the environment, the accessible markets based on circular economy, in which consumers and producers are directly linked, and importantly, a food system that secures people's rights to food and access to resources. So the first question and the last one, it's more about a mini survey, trying to understand, let's try to display it, for trying to understand how are you usually buying your daily food. So what type of marketing schemes do you rely on and you are more familiar with for buying qualitative food? Food of quality, let's say safe and nutritious food. The first option, mainly supermarkets and sometimes local city or village markets. The second, local city markets, farmers markets, and sometimes supermarkets. The third, community supported agriculture and organic local alternatives. And the fourth one is a mix of the above, with rarely supermarkets. I'll give you maybe another 15 seconds. Okay, so here are the results. I see that this is also pretty much proportionated. I see that there are less on community supported agriculture, but still quite some of you are using this to supply their food. So this is very interesting because yeah, let's say that it's not easy to avoid supermarkets in general for buying food, since some of the products we need may not be available or distributed by a CSA, or organic shops and farmers markets might be too far and therefore less accessible for, let's say, buying daily food. And it's true that supermarkets are almost everywhere. I think that the secret is to organize yourself better for buying weekly supplies. And in the case of a CSA and local markets, to simply get what's available throughout the season, right? So, but let's hear more about this from our two speakers later on, because now I would like to focus on what I will be presenting today. And it's more about getting back to the concept of community-supported agriculture. For those of you who may not know it, who never heard about it. And I will provide a historical background, and also before explaining why it's a model such as community-supported agriculture is so important today. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so let's start. Sorry, I just need to. Let's start with the definition from the beginning, with the definition of the community-supported agriculture, and see how it's most commonly explained. So we can see that according to the European CSA Declaration of 2016, community-supported agriculture is a direct partnership is a direct partnership based on the human relationship between people and one or several producers, whereby the risks, responsibilities, and rewards of farming are shared through a long-term binding agreement. We can also see another definition by the British Society of Soil Science, which defines the CSA as a cooperative relationship between farmers and consumers who share responsibility and harvest. So an important aspect is therefore the sharing of risks, besides the harvest and other positive gains. This means that less pressure is put on the producers who do not risk to get trapped into debt, and they are constantly supported by the community. And the whole community is responsible of what is going on within the CSA. This unity, but not only, is the actual strength of the CSA model. But let's go a bit back in history and see how the CSA developed throughout around the world and at which point in time. It was 1971 when a Japanese philosopher and leader of agricultural cooperatives named Teruo Ichiraku set off an organic agriculture movement in the middle of the Green Industrial Revolution, which is the one that modernized agricultural large-scale production based on the use of agrochemicals, including chemical fertilizers and pesticides, which hugely contributed to the development of agricultural production. Teruo was aware of the dangers of agrochemicals on human health, so he started to spreading the word about these dangers within his community. He started different type of farming, avoiding agrochemicals, while realizing that his family could also supply other people. So this way, he started a reading circle, inviting especially local women to discuss topics such as oneness between body and environment, and the value of whole foods and the importance of the local traditional Japanese diet. Then, 4 years later, he agreed with 10 families to provide them with a variety of products, including rice, wheat, and vegetables, in return for money and labor. This way, it happened that contracts between groups of highly educated and informed consumers and farmers launched the Teikei, translated as partnership movement. This is an example of a woman farmer in Japan who is sharing her, who's distributing the harvest of her CSA. But let's go ahead and see that how in the following years and decades, farmers, food producers, and consumers, they came together in communities of people that are interested in eating healthy and ecologically, continued forming similar association and partnerships relying on trust-based relationship. So between the 1980s and 2000, CSAs developed, influencing each other in Switzerland, Germany, US, Norway, Canada, France, just to name a few. And in France, they were called literally Association for the Maintaining of Peasant Agriculture. Also in Italy and in Portugal, where they called Reciproco, which means reciprocal mutual. Then we have an important actor, which is urgency. It's an important actor for the CSA movement around the world, because it represents a global network of small farmers, consumers, activists, and concerns politicians that are based on this local solidarity-based partnership between producers and consumers. So what did urgency do? They have been very active in organizing international conferences on the CSA around the world, and about 24 missions to spread the word about the CSA model, including in Eastern Europe and African countries. And nowadays, CSA are also well developed in Asia, in countries like China, Malaysia, India, just also again to name a few, and Latin America, including on Argentina, Guatemala, Costa Rica, etc. But yeah, let's try to understand why a CSA model is important. So going back to our polling questions, especially the first three questions, the one on unaffordable nutrition and healthy diets, or the massive food waste our current food systems are producing, we understand that there is an urgent need for achieving sustainable food systems and food production transformation, meaning that how food is processed, consumption, and commercialization models that holistically take into account the three pillars of sustainability. So the ones we mentioned before: ecology, economy, and society. So yes, we need this holistic and systemic approaches to food systems that do not miss these three pillars. We have examples such as agroecology or organic and biodynamic farming, among different examples. So CSA models give opportunity to all to take part in the production of the food based on this farming approaches that I mentioned before. And on the economic side, the commercialization of this produce is local and direct. I will explain this better with the next slide. But this, it's important to say that these are also often they are more accessible to producers and consumers, and they are based on certification schemes that are not expensive. An example is the participant guarantee system, in which the community develops standards and protocols to be maintained, these protocols that have to be maintained, and in order to guarantee the quality, safety, and healthiness of the food produced. On the social aspect, CSA is highly inclusive. We recognize interest from young people. For example, the first CSA in China has been started by Xian, who is with us today. And she was a graduate student and a doctoral candidate. Or another example of a food project in Boston that is offering training to young people who are interested in the production of their own food. It also includes women and men, as well as the most vulnerable. For example, many CSAs offer opportunity to join their membership without contributing financially but rather support as a volunteer through work, as it's happening, for example, in the Semi di Comunità CSA in Rome, which Davide will later explain us about, or the Hartford Food System CSA in Connecticut that provides CSA shares to local low-income populations. And again, another example of the Homeless Garden CSA in California, offering training and wages to homeless people. But before I close, let me quickly show you the value chain map that explains the current commercialization system that is very different than the one promoted by the CSA. So the food value chain involves quite a lot of different actors, as we can see, from farmers to aggregators, distributors, to food service responsibles, to consumers, etc. This is very different in a CSA where all this distance between farmers and consumers is shortened, because the CSA is developing short and local value chains, promoting direct sale and trust-based relationship between producers and consumers. This way, consumers can directly access healthy and nutritious food produced without chemical inputs. And as mentioned before, members of the CSA can participate into field activities linked to the production of their food. But we will hear more about this from our speakers. And yeah, for now, I will give the word back to Kathy. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Doina, for actually providing a briefing on CSA from both a theoretical and historical perspective. And we also understand from her what makes CSA unique is sort of its direct connection between consumers and producers. But in practice, actually, a lot of challenges occurred in bringing producers direct to consumers. Where now with this, we're going to have two practitioners from China and Italy to untie their stories and share their on-ground experience. So firstly, I would like to invite Shi Yuan. Shi Yuan is the founder and executive director of Shared Harvest Beijing Agricultural Development Cooperate. And as well, she is the co-president of International CSI Network, also named Yujinsi. What's the meaning of Yujinsi? I believe Shi Yuan will explain later on. As well, she has been involved in community agricultural support agriculture in China for over 10 years. She was selected as one of the young global leaders in 2016 by World Economic Forum. And in 2019, her Shared Harvest Farm was awarded the Outstanding Practice of Agroecology by the World Future Council. So she has been an inspiring a healthy and more sustainable way for farmers and consumers around different regions in China. As a pioneer of CSA movement in China, Shi Yuan received her PhD on agricultural economics and rural development at Renmin University of China. She also received her postdoctoral research at Tsinghua University. In addition, she had published 2 books entitled My Alternative Farming Experience in the United States and Children of the Earth, Food and Agriculture Education. So over to you, Shi Yuan.
Can you hear me?
We hear you clearly.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shi Yuan. And despite Kathy introduced all the background, but actually my career and my job now is very simple. So I'm a farmer, CSA farmer in rural Beijing in China. Actually, I started Shared Harvest CSA farm in 2012. At the beginning, we are a group of young people, who wants to go back to the countryside to start a CSA farm, but not only for our own family, but also we want to set up a kind of model for young people that to say, you know, in the future, for rural areas or village is a suitable place for young people to live and also to work here. So then we adopted the CSA model, and in the past 9 years, because this year is our ninth anniversary, farm ninth year anniversary. So now in our team, we have about 60 people working together. So half of the farmers we called the elder generations, whose age are mostly above 60 years old. Well, at the other part of the farm team, we usually call them new farmers or young farmers. That those young people are in average 30, even less than 30 years old. So most of them they graduate from college or universities, then they come back to the countryside and work with us together now. So we now in rural Beijing we have we have three farm base in Beijing, and each farm from 3 hectares to 20 hectares. And also we have outside of the field, and we also have several types of greenhouse which are built by our team. Like this greenhouse is good for even in the winter time. You don't need to heat the greenhouse in Beijing. That's the wall is made by all the soil. So you just use the sunshine and some blanket. Even in the winter of Beijing, you can also produce very good varieties of vegetables. Well, at the same time, we also have chickens, geese, some other animals, and so in the past 9 years, we got more and more biodiversity, and also the soil organic matter increased from 1.5 to 4% only in about 6 years. Now we provide about 1,000 families, CSA families in Beijing, and also while at the same time, we also work with several schools and restaurants and some of the retail small organic stores in Beijing. And also in our team, we have young farmers and the elder generations farmers are also in charge of other like fruits. We also work with local tofu makers, so that the local some tofu maker, they could use our soybean, organic soybean to make tofu. And then we can also deliver their tofu together with the vegetables and the other products. So in a week, usually we have about more than 100 products, which our CSA members, they can choose from the farm. Also at our farm, we have a small canteen, which our team, our farmers team, we for lunch and because the farm provide lunch and also supper and also breakfast. So all of our team, they can eat here. But while at the same time, in our kitchen, we also use the materials like our wheat, organic wheat. We made all the bread, Chinese bread and noodles. To also this bread and noodles can also be delivered to the families. We also made pear jams. So this can also add some values to our products. In our farm, we also have a small farm, kind of a farm hostel, which we can host. People can live in the farm. So we can also host summer camp. So kids in the summer or in the weekends, they can come to the farm to have the kind of food education. We also go to the city to build some rooftop garden for schools, for some shopping mall. We help them build their rooftop garden to I think also important for city people. They can, even in the city, they can very kind of close to where their food come from. From about 3 years ago, we started to do we call it organic farmers training course. So each month we have about 20 we call new farmers coming all over China who live in the farm and also work at the farm for a week. So in this week, they learned theory, but also they learned some practice of it's just the entry of the CSA or organic farming. But now we already host 28 28 sessions of the farmers training course. About 600 these new farmers, they learned and graduate from our training course. So now we, in our platform, in our farm platform, we support about more than 100 producers. Most of the producers, they are young farmers who learned or interned from our farm, and then they go back to their own hometown and start a CSA or start an organic farm. And then we can also help them to sell their products to our families or to our markets. At last, we, because in the past 10 years, more than 10 years, after I started the CSA movement in China, it's kind of the movement becoming stronger and stronger. So we used a conference, a national conference. So we started this conference in 2010. So in the past 12 years, almost every year, we host a national CSA conference in China. And for last year, because of the pandemic, we hosted the 12th national CSA conference online. And now we have a national CSA network. It's about more than 1,000 CSA local networks in China. So it's already become, I think it's become a very strong movement. And in the next 10 years, our CSA network wants to become closer because for the CSA network is still a loose network. But in the future, many farmers, they want to really cooperate it. So each province, we want to set up a provincial CSA cooperative. Then for the national level, we will have a national CSA cooperative probably in several years. So it depends on the organization of the provincial CSA networks. So for some conclusion, I think it's because when we're talking about scale, many people will think, oh, I have 1 hectare and I have 1,000 hectares and it's a scalable farm. But for us, I think how we can keep the farm small, but while at the same time, we can also increase the scale to more farmers join as a as a cooperative or in a network. So that's in the past 10 years, I think most of the lessons we learned is, and also a lot of spirit and time which we have put into is organizing small farmers into a kind of organization. So that later on, the next step, we will together with our network to connect to more different markets, and so that we can also have our own kind of some power to talk with the policy makers and also stronger our network. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks a lot, Shiyuan, for sharing the background, business, as well as lessons learned from the development experience of Shared Harvest Farm. Where actually I had a luck to visit your farm before COVID. And what impressed me is an educational work you are doing with the kids, or even with city consumers, as well as the urban farming work you have been done in the city. I'm also quite impressed by the professional farmer training program you have been offered to other young farmers. I read in the chat, some people are based in China, they would like to visit your farm. So for sure, we could bring the audience in touch with Shiyuan. If you're in Beijing, welcome to visit a farm. And I also noticed there are questions from our audience. So if possible, Shiyuan, maybe you could sort of address quickly, because I saw some colleagues are leaving soon. So there's a question on, is there any risk that a stronger CSA approach could exclude poor farmers located away from cities and prioritize richer producers located nearby the cities? So if you could quickly address the question like in 2 minutes, that would be really appreciated, Xu.
I think this is a very good question, because I think mostly what this audience talk about, the poor farmers are usually the elder generations of farmers who probably grow up in a village, and also probably all his life or all her or his life working in the village. But I don't think it's easier for them to directly connect to the local market, to the big markets, or in China now we are in a kind of market that for many consumers they just use online like Alibaba or Taobao or some applications. In an hour they can get very fresh and convenient food from online markets. So besides that, I think for CSAs, what our method is to, firstly we connect young, or we call new farmers. These young farmers, they are going back to the countryside. Then they can organize the local elder generations of farmers. They can work with them and say, what kind of quality the markets really needs, and how to packaging your products, what kind of logistics you should use to deliver. All this kind of knowledge. It's hard for the elder farmers to really get if there are no people very close working with them. So what I think now is more important to have young generations of people going back to the countryside. Then they will become the bridge to link the poor farmers.
Well, thanks a lot, Xu. And I believe our audience will have more questions. Don't worry, later on we will have an open question and answer session. But now I would like to take back and give the floor to our another practitioner, which is based in Italy. So please allow me to introduce David. David was born in Rome, where he studied classical and political science. After graduation in international relations at the Nisban School of Economics and Management, and some years working experience for large corporations, David decided to change his life by starting a 3-year trip throughout Asia and Europe. Often he was involved in welfare volunteering work, working in organic farms, where he learned a lot about organic farming. Then he returned to Italy and started to work as a professional farmer. And since the beginning of 2021, David joined the CSA as an associate worker, applying his skills as a young farmer and acquired knowledge on organic and natural farming. So David, over to you.
Hello, Katie. Thank you. Thank you all. I'm not sure if you want to share the video first. So then I will introduce myself.
che ci faccio qui? Valla a sapere. Mi sono trovato in mezzo a sto bell'amme senza sapere né come né perché. La voce dice, ma datela anche a me. Ma io rimango, non si pone la questione. Perché questa è la mia rivoluzione.
Hello. So it was so beautiful seeing the images of this video because it was from 2 years ago, and it's beautiful seeing how much did they feel changed. This, as you can see, and I will present you, it's our project is a new project we started 3 years ago. So now we share the screen with the slides. I am Davide, as I've been introduced by Katie. I'm a new farmer. I couldn't define myself professional, but I'm aiming to be. As you could understand, I started with a different path. I've been studying political science, classical studies, and international relationship in Lisbon, and then understood that that wasn't my path. So I tried to reconnect with myself by woofing, doing experiences in organic farms. And then I came back to Rome and I met Csa. That was Csa Semi di Comunità, our first Csa in Rome. It was early born because it started in 2019, and it was February 2019 when it kick-started, and I arrived in August of 2019, and I suddenly fell in love with this place. As you could see from the video, it's full of people really enthusiastic and willing to share. It's full of young people or older people that are connected by a common purpose. So I was in love with it since the first moment, and I became an associate. So how do we work, and how did the project started? So I became in love, but obviously in these 2 years we grew up, and I grew up too. So now I became, since the beginning of this year, the third worker, because we are a farm and we are organized as a cooperative, and there are 3 workers. One is me, then there is Saverio and Riccardo, that are 2 workers and associate and founders of the cooperative. So as I was saying, the project started in 2019, and obviously it didn't start like this. There was before a big work of research and planning to understand what to do, because there was this Riccardo, Saverio, that are 2 farmers, 2 young farmers, because Riccardo is 31 years old, Saverio is 32 years old, 33, and I am 31 years old. And we all come from different kind of path, because Saverio is coming from art studies and Riccardo studied political science. So we all kindly started our life in the city, but then we connect sooner or later to the field, to the agriculture. And so Riccardo and Saverio and Alice, that was the old worker that left 2 years ago, started the research, and they connect with MCF, that is in Italian Mondo Comunità Famiglia, so World Community and Family, that is a Catholic organization that was creating a community that has been based in our fields where we are working now since the 90s, and that had connection with Riccardo and Saverio, and they wanted to implement a project on their fields, on their 5-hectare farm. Actually, it's 3 hectares of agricultural farm and 2 hectares of forest. They wanted to implement a project that could give work to young professionals in agriculture, and a fair work that actually didn't exploit workers, and they wanted to produce fair and local food. So before us arriving 3 years ago, there was another project still promoted by MHEF that was related to, in Italian we say GAS, it means Gruppo di Acquisto Solidale. It's kind of CSA, but it's less than a CSA, I would say, because it's like a purchase group of people that connect to each other, and they decide to purchase from different farmers, but putting on the base certain kind of values as local food, as organic food, as fair food, and solidarity kind of relationship. But the project failed, so they wanted to bet again and put a new kind, start a new kind of project. So they met Riccardo and Saverio, and they decided to point higher and think about something different. Okay, it's important to give local job to people. It's important to produce local food and organic, but we have to do something that is actually sustaining and it's economically working, and is based on the risk management, like the risk sharing of the agricultural production. So they think about the CSA model. And on that time, and nowadays too, Arvaia, that is another CSA, was one of the most famous in Italy. And so they decided to contact Arvaia people, that is a CSA based in Bologna. And basically, Arvaia and MHEF helped us to germinate our project. They gave, so we follow the model of organization. That's the difference. Like that's the main point. That it's different from other farms. The model of organization in the way we produce and deliver food, and I will explain better later. So where are we based? We are based in Rome, but in a peri-urban area, not inside the city, right outside the city. And obviously this is a strategic place because the majority of our associates that now are 280, we grew up really fast in 3 years because we started with 40 people and now we are 280 associates. Most of the people are coming from Rome, a city of 4 million inhabitants around. So there is a potential for many, many other CSA, for sure. But we are the first example. So the first example in Rome and Central and South Italy. So it's something really new in Italy, especially in Center and South Italy. So what's this slide for? What's that stand for? I wanted to show how is important for us and how CSA changed the life of many of our associates. So as I told you, I got engaged and in love with the environment we have, and the sharing environment, the solidarity, and the will of doing things together. But I wanted to talk more about some of the associates that participate to the process of production and distribution. One is Gabriele on the left, on the center there is Giuditta, and on the right there is Bruno. And what links them? They are all people that left their old job and they wanted to, or they still maybe working with their old job, but they want to transform their life. They wanted to find a place that could let them experiment and get closer to agriculture, because you don't turn into an agriculture in a day, not even in a year, but it can last a long time. This is because you have to learn so many things deeply inside. It's not only knowledge, it's experience. So Csa is permitting them to make experience and change their life. And what happened is that recently I felt and we understood how our Csa is important, especially during this hard time in 2020 and 2021 during coronavirus outbreak, because people lost their job. Many people lost their job, especially Gabriele that was working with tourism guides, and Bruno was having a holiday house, and they had to close because tourism basically ended. Or Giuditta, for example, wanted to convert, and she's following a course of agriculture, professional course, and she's doing a stage in our Csa. So it's giving, our Csa is giving opportunity. We are giving to ourselves opportunity to stay together, work, and eat our food and live better and transform our lives. Let's explain better how do we work. How do we work? So what is our model? We are not selling vegetables. We don't sell. We self-produce and consume the vegetables, and our juridic form is a cooperative, self-production and consumption cooperative. So how do we work? We decide at the beginning of the year what to grow, how much to grow, and how much this would cost, considering all the costs of the year. So at the beginning of the years, we have a plan, especially we do the plan in December, we approve in our assembly, and then in February, we join together all our shares. For example, this year, we had to put 450 euros of shares for having 160 shares of food per week during the year. And we cover at least 45 weeks during the year. So imagine this year we would need around 70,000 euros for doing our activities. For example, paying 3 paychecks of the workers, and for buying the transplant plants, or buying the seeds, or the gasol, or all the expenses you can imagine. We share this plan and we see how much we have to spend. So what we decide during the second year, that we wanted to be inclusive and we wanted to have solidarity in between each other. So obviously we are coming from different backgrounds, from different kind of families all over Rome, and not everybody has the same financial possibilities. So 550 euros for a share of having a crate of food every week, around 4 kilos. It's not much if you see, because it's 250 per kilo of vegetables, but and it's organic food with really few treatment and organic treatment. It's local, and it's a really qualitative food. And if you buy this kind of food on a small market, you will pay way more. But even like this, there are people that can't afford to pay 450 euros for the whole year. So we decided to establish a system in which, I don't know the English word, but we say asta delle quote, that permits us to say how much we are willing to pay for cover the whole cost of the year. So there are some people that have more and they are willing to give more, even 10 euros more or 20 euros more. And few people, and this year worked like this, that had way less. So this mechanism could let people have access to food and be part of the community, even if they didn't have the money to participate. And this it's a good achievement for us. We are really happy for this, because the majority of people put 10 euros more. And imagine out of 160 quotes, 160 shares, many put 10 euros more, they could cover the cost for the others. So we have 3 hectares land. This means that, like as you could see on the top, we are 280 associates, and we cover 160 shares. Why? Because if you want to become an associate, you don't need to participate on the share, but you don't receive your crate per week. You can come on the field, work with us. So for example, we can reach even the number of 3,000 to 2,000, I don't know, I'm just saying numbers, of associates that come, and they can be the volunteer on the field. And sometimes, obviously, when they come, they can receive food. They can receive some of the vegetables we are not giving to the other associates that are eating, the associate eaters. But the point is, we can't reach more than 160 shares because we are a small project, and our earth, our soil, like our land, it's 3 hectares. So during summer, we don't use all the field we have, but for sure in the winter we use, because in winter we need more space for assuring the crop even during the winter. And as you could see, we even have on the back of this photo behind the tractor, you can see the tunnels, the greenhouse tunnels, or even here you can see all together doing it, putting the tunnel. And the tunnel is permitting us to produce even during the winter, or like anticipate the production in spring and produce more food until the middle March, so prorogating the production in winter. And we have a little pause between March and April before restarting the year season. So coming back to the organization, so I said about the shares, and now how does it work? Every Wednesday, so once per week, we do the harvest, and we harvest the vegetable, we make the crates, and we bring these crates to 8 different points of distribution in Rome, where our associates go and take their vegetables. The crates are not pre-made, are separated by varieties of vegetables. So it's a responsibility of every associate to make their own crate. And a message on WhatsApp is sent to every Wednesday to the associates, so they know the quantities of things they have to take. So this is important for us because it's giving more responsibility to people to self-regulate, because if the first one or the first 10 people take more, they're arriving in different time, for example, on the distribution point, what's left for the others is less. So it's important to this model for like sharing the responsibility of it, to don't pre-made the food to people, but make them participate in it. And they are not just collecting food, but many of us are participating as volunteer for delivering the food in the 8 distribution point. And the distribution point in the city were created on the base of the addresses of people that became associates. So we are still growing, so we could maybe be more or less or concentrate, but for this moment we are at the moment we have 8 distribution points. So what I was saying, so the 4th point is that all our associates are volunteers, so we are based on the participation of people. The project wouldn't work if the associates weren't participating in it. There are 3 workers, obviously, but for feeding 180 people, 3 workers are nothing. So obviously we are there for keep control of the land, giving and share our knowledge, and couch our associates during the work and coordinate. But the participation of people is way important. It's really important. So about what I'm saying, so why we do it? Because we wanted to be quite a radical CSA. We decided to don't sell, but we decided that we will be self-rely on our community, and let people understand that if they don't participate and they don't share responsibility and risk, they won't share the benefits. So we have all to participate. Well, obviously we don't. We are 280 people, and we don't force anybody, because this is not our is not our attitude. but we ask to every associate to participate at least 4 times per year. That is not much. It's, for example, 4 Saturdays per year. And this is enough, actually. This is enough. There are obviously more people that come more. But how does it work? Like, they come because everybody has found in the CSA a place where to grow, a place where to exchange ideas, where to find friends, where to stay in community together. Our rhythm of work is not really hard because we go slow, because we care really of the people. We are not farming vegetables only, we are farming relationship. This is important because it's all based on trust. And when associates are unhappy for something, for example, because the broccoli weren't so beautiful, or I can make many examples, we ask them, okay, come and help, and you will see why maybe that day weren't beautiful. You would see why there was that pest, or there was that hail, or there was that much rain. So we are raising the awareness of people about agricultural matters by letting them participate and understand by experience what does mean farming. So what are our fundamental values? As I said, participation and trust, and the knowledge exchange, because there is obviously the technical knowledge of the farmers that are all the time on the place. So everybody that comes is explained why we are doing this or that. But it's not
what for interrupting you. I think for more details we could perhaps elaborate during the Q&A session.
Okay.
What do you think? We just take a quick 1 minute to wrap it up, then we can explain more during Q&A.
Okay, so I was saying about knowledge exchange, solidarity, because we have an inside solidarity, as you explained, or outside solidarity, because we had a project ongoing with Non Aroma, that it's an association that take care of homeless people, and we give some of our shares to them. So in between our values, there is local and fair food, obviously agroecology, and one of the key points is the zero waste of food. We are tending to it, obviously, but as Doina said before, one of the main thing of the CSA is that everything is shared. So if we don't sell things to people and on the market, we can afford to give to people even things that are not beautiful, that maybe in other places they wouldn't buy and they would be wasted. So in this case, we are trying, and our model permits us to reduce the waste of food on the field and recycle, reuse, because we recycle everything we have. All the things we have, the majority of things weren't bought, but they were shared or given by our associates. And another key value is the inclusion and the openness in between the openness to the outside world, not only inside of our associates, but we let people work in our fields like that are not associates. This is the case of Noti Soggetti Esterni, that it's Autistic Boys Association that needed a place where to let them work. And so we are hosting them each Friday, and obviously they are followed by tutors. So I will be really fast on it because it's really hard to explain and we don't have time, but I'm showing just that we are, for organizing ourselves, we are divided in working groups. So we have 8 different working groups: agriculture, administration, distribution, events, projects, spaces. So what means projection and keeping in order management of the spaces of the CSA, communication, and recipes. So every associate can decide to ascribe to one of these groups and participate on this working group. These are some photos of the works in the field. And what is our cultivation method? It's different from the majority of farms because we have a seasonal planning. There is a lot of planning, considering that we don't give things when they're ready. Obviously, we give feed when they are ready, but in a normal farm, you have to give the things when they're ready. You go to the market and you sell what you have. In our case, every Wednesday, we have to have 160 shares of vegetables ready. So the transplantation is planned and organized on a base that permits you to have things ripe on a certain time all together. And this is not easy at all, I can tell you. So it needs a lot of planning. Then, obviously, we are organic farm because we're eating our food and our values are related to it. And we cultivate 80 different varieties of vegetables, and we are going to introduce fruit trees. We already introduced apricots, and we want to introduce way more because our idea is to transform our place in a more biodiverse place and increasing the system of increasing the simplicity of the production into a more complex ecosystem. So we are going to turn in an agroforestry project, like we are turning more agroforestry field. So I will skip all these things. Maybe if you have later more question about our farming methods, I will answer later. Then I go on the check and balances. Why? I had to select two of our achievements. As you could see, we could give in 3 years, we could arrive to maintain under 60 shares, and we are growing on it, and we are improving the quality of the food we are giving and the shape and the taste of the food we are giving day by day, like year by year. And the trust into the community is growing, not only the number of people, but the trust is growing. And we got the financial stability that wasn't like it was a bet at first. And we are demonstrating after 3 years that this model is economically working. It's sustainable, but it's sustainable only if the associates participate, obviously. So it's based a lot on people. And the main challenges we have, well, we grow so fast that many of our associates are not aware how do we work. And these, we have to improve our communication in this sense. And so we have to observe it and grow our awareness, and then improve, like observe the way how we work. So observe our best practices and our bad practices and try to change them. So thank you. I hope if you have any question about if you are willing to open a CSA or if you want to participate, you can make me question about it. I'm not saying it now. Here you have even the site, but it will be shared on the chat. And I pass the word to Katie. Thank you all.
Well, thanks a lot, David, for very detailed and the explanation on how you sort of grow CSR, how you're involved, and how is the practice in Rome. Actually, I found it quite interesting to know your personal career transition, well, from a corporate employee to a skilled farmer. And it's also very encouraging to know that you and your friends' passion to be a professional farmer, as well as how you find how your friends find new opportunities to by involving in CSA. And also I found it's quite different, your story and your context compared to the story or experience Shi Yuan shared earlier on. Now I would like to invite our three speakers back to the session, and we're doing an open Q&A session now. So I encourage all of our participants to please to post the questions in the Q&A chat box, or you could even raise your hand. And in fact, I saw a question that replied by Shi Yuan, but I think it's very interesting, which is worth to point it out, that imagine, so this question is to both the three speakers, Shi Yuan, David, and Doina. Imagine a young people who is passionate on doing CSA practice in his or her country. What would be your advice to them? Maybe you can take like 1 minute quick summary to them. Shi Yuan, do you want to go first?
Actually, I think for different countries, probably you must start your CSA firstly according to your country's situation. I mean, you need to know the market, the consumers, their behavior, And I think most important, actually, not all of this, but because I see many young farmers in China, they want to start a CSA, but at the beginning, I don't think they really know what in the future they want to get from the CSA. Because some people, they want, later on they found, oh, for CSAs you can't make a lot of money. And some people will say, oh, actually what I imagined for farm life is very kind of relaxed, but actually when you're working as a farmer, you have to work very hard, and usually probably your work sometimes can't be recognized by some people. So I think firstly you must really know what why you want to devote yourself into a CSA. So clearly no, yeah.
Thank you, Xuan. So David, if a youth come to you to establish a CSA in Italian context, what would be your message to the youth?
I agree really much
1
with
minute.
You. Yes, sorry, I agree really much with you, Xiyan. Totally agree, because there is always this idyllic idea of agriculture, but the work in a farm is really hard, and we have to be prepared for it. And you are not prepared if you don't try before. So depends if the person wants to open it as already an experience or not. That it's a big difference. So if you don't have the experience, first, like, reconsider your idea and first work a lot in agriculture or join a CSA and then do your own. Not reconsider for now, just for now, but then follow with it. If you already know, well, then I would suggest a lot of planning, first of all, and people around you. That's our I'm talking just about our experience, and so you have to rely on people, and it has to be really clear the values that are behind, and adapt to the context, because this was our context. If you are opening somewhere else, depends on the land where you're using. The land is really important. If you don't have the land and it has to be stable.
Well, thanks a lot, David, for explaining from Italian context. I actually saw another question relevant to your presentation. So people are curious to know in terms of feeds and fertilization. So how was it work in a practice?
So far, we are using a no intervention method. We are not fertilizing with fertilizer, not chemicals and not organic. We put an ammendante, in Italian we call, that is not fertilizer. It's something that release, it's lombricompost that release compost. So it improves the structure of the soil, but doesn't give directly a boost on the plant, because we don't want to improve the fertility for the plant on that moment, but we want to improve the soil. But the main practice is the minimum tilling for sure. But we have to use, in Italian we say fresa. We have this approach. So it's way more important the way you work the soil than what you put on it. And let the soil rest, and put cover crops. So we are enriching our soil with cover crops and rest. And it can be hard on a 3-hectare farm. So we can do this only during summer. Because during winter we have to use the whole field. That's why we are at the same time alternating with the trees, and we are creating a better ecosystem. We are putting bees. We already have bees, and we are trying to, let's say, our plants are getting bigger, even if you're not putting fertilization. We did soil testing 1 year ago, but we have to wait more time during the years to see the organic matter and see how it's changing. But by eye, we see that the quality of our vegetables is growing. So this is a good indicator factor.
Thanks a lot, David. Actually, Sriyan was so present in the practice in China, which they also worked a lot on soil. But additional question for you, David, is how did you actually balance the economic returns in terms of balance the yields and also an organic farming? The same question to Shiyuan. So yeah, I think that's the economic point of view that a lot of our audience are interested.
So I go first? Okay. So
please, 1 minute, because we're in.
But I have to repeat the question to understand if I really understood what's the question is. It's how do we manage to be sustainable economically?
How did you balance what is your investment return in terms of your practice?
The investment in money. For example, this year we invested for the whole operation 75,000 euros per year, and like 99% of the amount of the investment is covered by our associates. So we don't ask for money from somewhere else. There are some donors of our associates that are associates, private people that give some money at the beginning of the project that we are paying back. So every year there is a voice that on the expenses report of giving back the money to the donors that let us buy the tractor and all the tools at first for starting. But year by year, there is 10,000 euros that can be set for new investments. For example, new trees, putting trees, or improving the tractor, or hiring another person, for example, me, and the idea is growing and giving to people way more during the years, kind of vegetables than fruit, and maybe eggs, because we want to introduce animals and do alternation, but it depends even on how things go. Okay, the minute's passed, let's go.
Thanks a lot, David. I would like to give 1 more minute to Xuyan to sort of explain her practice in China.
Okay, actually, we at the beginning, when we first start Share Harvest Farm, we did called crowdfunding. So we got from 10 families at the beginning, 10 families. Each of them, they prepaid us 5 years of the vegetables. So they prepaid for 5 years. Then we got enough money, about 300,000 yuan RMB in China, and we use that money to invest at the beginning. So it's not the kind of investment, but the consumers, they just invest in their food ahead. And later on, each year we for the CSA model, because the members, they will prepay the farm, so we don't need to use outside money to invest the farm. And later on, when we get more and more members, just the recent years, we try to keep the profit of the farm at about 10% of the each year, so that next year we can also use this profit to reinvest the farm itself. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot of Xu and David. I think the CSA youth and this whole topic is just so rich. We definitely need another session, another hours to talk about it. With this, I would like to give back to the floor to Doina to do a quick summary and wrap up of today's session. And Doina is a specialist in agroecology, working for UN agencies on rural development programs benefiting small-scale producers. She obtained her master's degree in international relations at the Central China Normal University, researching on China's policies and green agriculture. She had previously worked for FAO and IFAD. Passionate of agroecology and organic farming, she is also a member of the Roman CSA. So I give you over to you, Doina.
Thank you, Kathy, and also thanks a lot for the presentation that we didn't have time to do before, and thanks for that. So I would try to quickly wrap up this very interesting session that we had today. And I hope that all of us had the occasion to learn more from our speakers, from somebody that is engaged in the community-supported agriculture, learning about how to organize the production and the commercialization. We heard about the benefits of running a CSA, but also about challenges and lessons learned. And we also understood how this model is attracting young people who rediscover the value of farming and living in connection with nature and learning from it. Very interesting, the experience of Xi'an, about 1,000 farms in the CSA in Beijing. The fact that they each month provide training courses, 1 week training courses for interested farmers, and also the online food community that is helping farmers on the commercialization side. Also then again, the importance to consider farmers more than hectares. So we look more at the small scale producers rather than the quantity of land. Then the importance about farmer to farmer knowledge and exchange. This is how people can learn about community supported agriculture, including young people who can start already visiting the CSAs in their cities and learn from there how to open a CSA. And Davide mentioned, highlighted the connection and the common purpose that unites people in a CSA. The energy of these 3 young people engaged in agriculture and the importance of fair money and fair local food, fair work and fair local food. But also the importance of giving local jobs to people. So it's true, agriculture might be hard, but it's at the same time very interesting. It gives us back something that perhaps we lost it in the last period with the life in cities that is keeping us a bit far from nature and especially from the food that we eat. So I encourage strongly all of you to get in touch with this kind of realities in your cities and to rediscover also the ways on how can we truly contribute to sustainable food systems and really change them, because this is possible. It's not just something that is written somewhere. Thanks a lot for this interesting session. And I give you the word back to Kathy for the final greetings.
Well, thanks a lot, Doila, for the great summary. And with this, we're going to end our session. Just one more quick question for our speakers, because I noticed there's some participants are asking contacts to be connected to Shiyuan or David. So if you don't mind, perhaps you could share your email or whatever contacts you feel comfortable in the chat box that for further exchanges. With this, I wish everyone a great afternoon and a great evening. See you again another time. Bye-bye.